Hey everybody, Mrs. Goodreads here. I just wanted to take a second to start this video off right with my very favorite classroom expectation, because I know a lot of you are going back to school as teachers or you've got kids that are starting back at school. So here is my favorite. It goes like this. We will value one another as unique and special individuals. Let me say that again because it bears repeating. We will value one another as unique and special individuals. Emphasis there on the valuing others and being unique and special. Okay, this is such an important thing to me. I think that God created all of us in His image. He gave us character qualities and personalities that reflect Him. And so when we are putting down one another or picking on each other, we are basically saying that what God created is not good. And that's a lie. I was teaching, this was a point that I drove home all year long. I wanted my kids to know the importance of valuing each other. I wanted them to know how to look for what makes each other unique and special and how to call that out in each other and to encourage one another. So I have a few books that I like to share with my students at the beginning of the year to kind of help teach this point. So I'll start with exclamation mark. This one is from my mommy. She gave it to me when I first started teaching. It is about an exclamation mark who just doesn't fit in. In fact, he stands out. And he is trying to find his place among a bunch of people that don't look like him, and he just can't quite join in. So they, after trying to fit in for a while, a question mark comes along and asks him a question, which is huge, y'all. I teach my kids to ask questions, even as adults. Ask questions about other people. Ask them, hey, what are your hobbies? What's your favorite color? Get to know people, and don't just ask questions. Listen to their answers and get to know them. See how they are unique and special. So once he gets to talking, he realizes he does have something that makes him very unique and very special. He can shout out commands and say with enthusiasm what he wants to say. And so at the end of the book, he's kind of figured himself out. And he's going out to make his mark in the world. But what I love most about this is that his friends, who are different than him, recognize that he is special. They say, isn't he something? There was never any doubt in our mind. Okay, they encouraged him in what makes him unique and special. Another one, I'm sure if you've been in the educational world at all, you've heard how full is your bucket for kids. And this one, I just love the illustration of having a bucket over your head. And when you have a bad day or people say negative things to you, or you just even perceive things as hurtful, your bucket empties. And we all know what it feels like to have an empty bucket. The good news, though, is that your bucket can be filled. It can be filled when people encourage you and say kind things to you, ask you about yourself, comment on something that you're doing well. And it can also be filled when you do the same thing to other people, when you help others, when you say compliments to others. Not only does it fill their bucket, it fills your bucket too. And so I think this is just a really important one for kids to see, because I think it helps them visualize what their words and their actions are doing to others. This is a new one I heard about recently. It's called One by Catherine Otashi, and starts out with blue. He's kind of a quiet color, and like all of us, he compares himself to other colors or other people. He knows what makes other colors special, and sometimes he wants to be like them. But what I love about this is that overall, he liked being blue. This color has some self-esteem already. He's not so easily put down by other colors or so easily falling into the trap of comparing himself. He knows what makes him unique and special, and he likes it about himself. However, red comes into the picture, and red is, well, like the color. It's bold and big, and he kind of stomps on the other colors a little bit and says mean things, and they have a hard time standing up to him until one day One comes along, and One is not afraid to stand up to Red. Now, he doesn't ever put him down and say mean things about Red, because that wouldn't be right. He just tells him, hey, stop laughing at my friends. And One encourages the other colors to become brave like him and to stand up for themselves. And this makes Red angry. But at the end of the book, what I love about this book is that because we're valuing one another as unique and special individuals, these colors don't turn around and go put down Red and tell him how awful he is. At the very end, they ask Red to come join them. They realize, hey, Red has something unique and special to offer us. Let's invite him in to come and play with us. That is important. I want to teach kids that it's okay if someone is different than you. You don't need to put them down. Find out what makes them unique and special. Encourage that in them and invite them to come join you. So my last recommendation is Huey Fawad Wat, which is just kind of fun to say. And it is written by Helen Lester, illustrated by Lynn Munsinger. And this book is really similar to One. Rodney Rat feels kind of quiet and a little bit alone. Unlike One, he feels that way because he doesn't have very much self-confidence because of his speech impediment. Whereas in One, Blue didn't mind who he was. He knew what made him unique and special. Rodney Rat doesn't really have anybody telling him what makes him special. Anyways, along comes Camilla Capybara, and she picks on all the rats and pulls on their tails, steps on their noses, just is loud and mean to them, and no one really feels comfortable standing up to her. At the end of the book, she is eventually deterred away from them, but what I don't like about this one is at the very end, all the rats are making fun of Camilla, and they basically tell her good riddance. So after I read this book, I think it's a good time to talk to your kids about saying, hey, what could the rats have done differently here? And without a doubt, they're gonna say, hey, they should have been nice to Camilla because they know what it's like to be picked on and to feel this small and insignificant. So sometimes it's okay to read books that don't fit your theme perfectly. It's a chance to have some conversation in there. So anyways, like I said, I'd love to hear more about books that you've read that fit this theme of valuing one another as unique and special individuals. And I'd love to hear how these work in your classroom or in your home as well. Thanks, guys.